Hello, I'm Phil Carney. Like you, I am a proud member of this wonderful industry, and I am PPAI. I haven't witnessed all the 100 years of PPAI, but I've seen my share of them. Before I retired last year, I spent a quarter of a century as a supplier and was a member of PPAI during that time. Through the years, there have been so many changes, incredible advancements, great leaders, the emergence of many trends, astonishing progress. It's amazing to realize what we have accomplished. As we take a moment now to reflect on how far we've come, let's not forget that the success of this association has truly been a team effort. I was but one of thousands of volunteers who served on committees, task forces, and our board, taught seminars, and shared time and expertise in many other ways. It is my pleasure now to dedicate this centennial celebration to the tireless volunteers who have helped drive the success of PPAI. Thank you all for making this great association what it is today. Join me now on a tour of our past, and we'll see that PPAI membership has been, for 100 years, the mark of a professional.
This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and will prosper. Free at last! Thank God Almighty, we are free at last!
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
For the last 9 days, the entire world has seen for itself the state of our union, and it is strong.
Welcome to the world headquarters of the Promotional Products Association International. We're here today to celebrate this association's 100th anniversary, a century of service to the professionals who make up our membership. To suggest that things have changed during the last 100 years in the world and in our industry, well, that goes without saying. But what is interesting to note is the way those changes have occurred. Time does march on, and as you're about to see, the growth of our association has been right in step with the growth of this country.
The promotional products industry in America can be traced as far back as 1798, when the first commemorative buttons were issued in honor of George Washington's inauguration. Already, promotional products in a growing America were taking their first steps together. But the potential for advertising was not fully realized until 1876. Jasper Meek, a Coshocton, Ohio newspaperman, used his printing press to create a burlap school book bag that bore the message, "Buy Cantwell shoes." The idea of a promotional item given for free that would be functional and promote a product or a service, well, local advertisers thought it was a fantastic idea. They also thought it might be time to get organized. In 1903, 11 industry leaders representing 9 firms gathered in Cincinnati's Gibson House Hotel. They planned to meet again the following May in Chicago. When they did, they named the new organization the National Association of Advertising Novelty Manufacturers. Well, that same year saw the premiere of the first silent film. 1903's The Great Train Robbery was a huge success, but it's unlikely that its producers, nor the 12 founding members of the Promotional Products Association, had any idea they had just given life to an emerging medium that would flourish in the century to come. The 1914 assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria, sparked World War I. The United States proclaimed for the time being its neutrality and busied itself with domestic affairs such as President Woodrow Wilson's creation of the Federal Trade Commission. That year, 32 exhibitors displayed their products at our first association show in Chicago's Hotel Sherman. It marked the beginning of what would become the industry's premier annual event. Well, the 1920s roared, both for the country and for the newly renamed Advertising Specialty Association. In 1928, we celebrated our 25th anniversary during the annual meeting at Chicago's Stevens Hotel, known today as the Chicago Hilton and Towers. Among the association's accomplishments in that first quarter century was a successful fight to exclude specialty advertising and business gifts from federal anti-bribery legislation. Imagine the consequences to our industry had our association not prevailed. Like the rest of the country, our association was enjoying a post-war boom. Membership was up to 130 companies. The economy was strong, spirits were high, and America was buoyed by a thrilling sense of victory and rebelliousness. What could go wrong? Still stinging from the crash of '29, the economy struggled. The Advertising Specialty Association felt it too. In 1932, membership dropped to fewer than 80 companies. The following year, 1933, the association held no meeting at all. There would be a meeting in 1934, but exhibitors would shrink to an all-time low of 16. Still, there was an undeniable sense of optimism. 1933 alone saw the inauguration of Franklin D. Roosevelt and his New Deal campaign, the creation of jobs under the newly formed Tennessee Valley Authority, and for some, the brightest moment of 1933, the repeal of Prohibition. Perhaps things were going to be all right after all. While the advent of World War II didn't bring this momentum to a halt, it was indeed a long and hard-fought campaign. The end of the war meant the return of armed forces personnel to civilian employment. Well, this bolstered the economy, and the optimism for a fresh start was everywhere. New technology and the availability of rigid and vinyl plastics changed the face of our industry. And a little-known item known as the ballpoint pen was introduced. Welcome to a new era of promotional products. The association gained momentum and strength throughout the 1940s. By the time we celebrated our 40th year in 1942 at Chicago's Palmer House, membership had hit an even 100. In 4 years, 1946, our size would almost double. Industry sales in 1947 totaled $124 million. As the 1940s gave way to the 1950s, we were ready to rock and roll. The 1950s continued a time of prosperity and celebration in America. More active lifestyles and a car in every garage meant the perfect timing for the success of Ray Kroc's Golden Arches in 1955. In 1958, our association established the Golden Pyramid Awards, although at the time, they were called the Outstanding Use of Advertising Specialties in Business Promotions Awards. As America tried to find itself during the turbulent 1960s, the recently renamed Advertising Specialty National Association was also looking to redefine its mission. With a desire to sharpen ourselves and our image, ASNA launched the association's Executive Development Seminars in 1961, through which participants could receive the designation of Certified Advertising Specialist. This would also be an era that would forever impact the size and profile of the industry, as more and more women began to emerge as an essential voice of influence and leadership. One of the biggest concerns of the late 1950s and early 60s was that our two trade associations, the Advertising Specialty National Association, which largely represented suppliers, and the Advertising Specialty Guild, which was basically a distributor organization, would divide and weaken the industry. The historic solution was a 1964 merger that created the Specialty Advertising Association. With new President Stanley V. Lenham at the helm, the reconfigured association opened its first national offices in Chicago, with President Ralph Thomas and his assistant, R.C. Rawlings. In 1966, Rawlings would become the president. Well, it didn't take long for the good vibrations of the late 60s flower power to wilt. In 1970, just 1 year after Woodstock, the death of counterculture heroes, the fatal shooting of 4 students at Kent State, and John Lennon's 30th birthday signaled the end, both figuratively and literally, of the 60s. It was time to get serious. For our association, it was undoubtedly a time of recommitment and maturity. Prompted by the success of the executive development seminars, the 1970s saw a huge increase in the number of educational programs offered by the association. In 1971, we expanded our membership and our name, Specialty Advertising Association International. The late 60s, early 70s ushered in an era of self-expression, and SAAI helped give an entire generation a whole new way to tell it like it is. Whether promoting a favorite brand of beer or telling us to have a nice day, the T-shirt appeared, and the promotional product industry single-handedly launched the imprinted, wearable revolution. In 1979, we appointed a new president, H. Ted Olson, and moved our headquarters from Chicago to Irving, Texas, near the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. As part of a nationwide movement of corporations and associations to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we were joined by organizations as diverse as Caltex, American Airlines, and the Boy Scouts of America. While the disco beat of the day thumped on, the heartbeat of PPAI grew stronger. A decade of incredible expansion was just around the corner. America in the 1980s meant success and prosperity, and things were no different for SAAI. Membership had more than doubled in 10 years. At the 1975 show, attendance was just over 4,000. By 1985, attendance was approaching 9,000. New technology was on the rise too. Better, faster, and smaller electronics meant whole new categories of whiz-bang, easy-to-sell promotional products. Refrigerator magnets that flashed, pens that talked, coffee mugs that played music. The opportunities were endless. And in 1985, consumers were first introduced to a new graphical user interface for personal computers called Windows. In June 1992, in Liverpool, New York, a small article describing a phenomenon called the Internet coined a brand new expression, surfing the Internet. Everything about the way we communicate, shop, advertise, and do business was about to change. Change was in the air for our association as well. In 1993, we adopted a new name, the Promotional Products Association International, to embrace all promotional products, including premiums. Following Olson's retirement in 1996, new president Steve Slagle took over the office as the world went online. Personal computers skyrocketed, creating a whole new arena of promotional items, mouse pads, screensavers, and CD labels, just to name a few. Our traditional processes have now been completely reinvented by technology, allowing us to create promotional items with startling levels of detail and quality. Computerized and motion-controlled printing and embroidery processes now deliver miraculous depth and texture, virtually erasing the limits of what our industry can offer. A vibrant and dynamic association website, a network of buyers and sellers on the web, searchable suppliers and distributors, PPAI's online university. It was a true revolution, and the speed and enthusiasm with which PPAI embraced this invaluable new business tool showed incredible foresight. In the final weeks of 1999, there was a feeling of uneasy giddiness. Would the science fiction miracles of the 21st century turn out to be everything we'd hoped? Would a Y2K bug turn our computers against us and turn the world dark? Had invaders from another planet scheduled January 1, 2000 for their attack? Whether waiting in bunkers or on mountaintops, the world breathed a collective sigh of relief as 2000 came and went without incident. Unfortunately, in 2001, Americans discovered that if we were watching for an attack from another planet, we were looking in the wrong direction. But once again, the members of this industry came together.
As PPAI faces the promise and possibilities of a second century, we take this brief moment to remember just how far we've come and all that we've accomplished. But more importantly, our focus now, as it has always been, is on how we will thrive and adapt in a new era with new rules that no one could have expected. Worldwide, there is a distinct feeling of resolution, a renewed sense of toughness and determination. We will let nothing prevent us from being who we want to be. At PPAI, we express that feeling in a new mission statement we adopted in 1999, one that reaffirms PPAI's position as the leader for growth, innovation, information, and success in the evolving promotional products market. Today, with more than 1,500 CAS and MAS members, the focus is on education, member services, and the continued overall betterment of the industry. Not so different from the goals laid out at that small meeting in a Cincinnati hotel 100 years ago. From 12 founding members in 1903 to over 6,700 member firms throughout the world in 2003, PPAI represents the very best of how business should be done, with fairness, integrity, and pride, and unparalleled member involvement. That's who we were 100 years ago, and it's reassuring to know that's who we still are today. Happy birthday, PPAI. Here's to the next 100 years.